if you're feeling nasty. I am your host, as always, Chad Porto. Joining me is Marcus Green. We've been having a silly old time on this week's stream. So if you're watching the stream live, what's up? Twitch.tv/Wrestling Underground. Check us out live every Tuesday, sometime after 10. We're not really punctual. Mostly I'm not really punctual. On this week's episode of Lucha Underground, we have 3 matches, and one of them involves Katrina licking people. So, welcome to Pornhub. So we opened up the show with Conan talking to Dario Cueto about bringing in Pentagon, Drago, and Phoenix. And he was like, that's cool. And then we get him in the ring. And Dario Cueto's like, hey, I'm with El Mariachi Loco, or Local Mariachi, or him with the mask and the pants. And I'm like, Marcus, who is this guy? And then I looked him up. And apparently that's just who he is. Like, this isn't one of those Lucha Underground guys that they put in a different mask and a different character, like with Ricochet de Puma. This is actually just who he is, Loco Mariachi or Mariachi Loco. I forget. I think it's Loco Mariachi, but that's who he is. And he ends up having the unamiable task of taking on Mascarita Sagrada to start the show. Marcus, thoughts on the Sagrada Loco match? If you have any.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, it's a fun little match. It's always fun looking back because now you kind of know all the long-term players.
Mm-hmm.
Temple Soul was a fun little outing. We got introduced to, Escalzita. So it was cool. The miniatures get everybody involved. Again, letting you know that anything or anyone can and will appear in the ring. And the weirder they look, probably is a high probability that they're going to get a win. So
Sagrada was, I think, 50 when this match happened. Wouldn't be able to tell. I've always said it. There's something about the way they train in Mexico that just enables these dudes' bodies to do things longer than what we do in North America or in United States, because technically Mexico is North America. I don't know what it is, but luchadors, especially Mexican luchadors, have just this staying power because of the way they train. And I don't know what it is, and I would love to find out, how they do it, because these guys wrestle like 200 times a year. It's not like they're only doing 20, 40 shows, They're out there 4 or 5 times a week. So I'd like to know, because like Sagrada for 50? Could you imagine Ric Flair trying to do that shit at 50? I could imagine Flair trying to do that shit at 25. It's fucking bonkers, man. That would be a cool. Actually, that's the shit that they should do. I would love to see like some like fucking like behind the mask bullshit where they go down and they look at the way luchadors train. That'd be dope. Speaking of dope, Chavo Guerrero attacks Mascarita Sagrada post match. That makes Vampiro happy. And then we're into an interview segment with Vampiro and Chavo. And basically the whole thing was Vampiro's like, look at me, I am wearing a hat and a bandana. And Chavo's like, I'm just wearing a bandana. And Vampiro's like, yeah, I got one more than you. I win. So Chavo sits down with Conan and basically talks about how, the Guerreros will always get you and they're bad guys. Marcus, this is the debut of the Vampiro sit-down interview. With thoughts on the debut of the interview set, which is just them in front of the stands, and the interview itself.
Yeah, I mean, I like the segment. Obviously, not that. Like I said, I'm kind of hot and cold with Chavo. But I did like the interview segment, and specifically because of the angst from Vampiro in it, like because you know that's going, and because he don't necessarily do too good with being talked at a certain way or whatnot. So I like that. You kind of need those sit down interviews, specifically when it's not more of those more mysterious or supernatural type characters that we're gonna see involved. So I dug that. I thought that was cool, and I think, like I said, Imperial's the right guy to do it with because, he kind of has that. Well, he has the history for the wrestling element of it. So
I think he goes back with a little bit with the girls because I think he made his bones in Mexico in the late '80s, early '90s. So I'm sure he crossed paths with both Guerreros and probably even Mondo and company. So it's a good entry point, I think. Chavo's having a bad day though. He ends up running into Conan, who basically says, the families of Mexico, they're not happy what you did with Blue Demon and Masquerade Sagrada, and they're going to come for you. And Chavo's like, I'm not scared. And then Mil Muertes shows up, and Chavo's like, I'm so scared. And Katrina then shows up, and she's like, every time they put me in frame, it looks like I'm not wearing clothes. And I'm like, yes, Katrina, that's why we like it. You wear that low-cut top, so they frame it just right, so it always makes it look like you're naked. I don't know why they do that to you, but they do. And I'm not complaining, because Katrina's gorgeous. Katrina gives Chavo a threat and then licks his face. And for the first time in my life, I'm jealous of not being Chavo Guerrero. That was a trip, man. That was a trip. Watching Katrina lick people. Oh my God, do you think she was patient zero for COVID?
oh, but
All right, any thoughts on this?
yeah, it was just talking about the segment overall.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. Again, that ominousness. I think that was, probably some of my favorite, stuff with Lucha is those, because it's the stuff. The great thing about Lucha, that's separated from the regular wrestling that we're used to. It wouldn't be one of those things where what we were looking at is like, on the Tron for the audience.
Mm-hmm.
It was just something that we was in on, and then everything that came from that would transpire in the ring, and then the fans would see it. So, it was kind of like this little cool inside joke thing or what have you. So yeah, they always did great with those kind of segments, though, specifically with Katrina, because obviously we know that character would evolve, and like you said, it's also one of the few times we see her lick a dry face.
Yeah.
Which is even weirder. Well, it kind of leaves more credence to you saying that she was ground zero.
I mean, I don't see anyone washing their face before or after, so could be a thing. That leads us into Mil Muertes versus who is it? Ricky Mandel. This match went on way too long for what they were trying to do. Mil Muertes wins, and then Katrina licks him. It wasn't the Outbreak Monkey. It's Katrina. Granted, if someone's got to spit in your face or lick your face, because I think the Outbreak Monkey spit in someone's face, I'd rather it be Katrina. If we got to die by some contagious virus, we'd rather at least look good in a dress. Just saying. Mark, any thoughts on the match?
Like you said, it went longer than it used to. And because we have future insight, it's so weird seeing Muertes in those striped pants.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, oh my God, this is not this is not what it's gonna be, and I want it to be what it's gonna be now, because this is, he's too menacing to be, in these stripes. But like you said, it went longer than it would, and it's interesting to see early on Mandel, because obviously that would go somewhere later. But yeah, it didn't need to be this long. The minute he spit him, it should have been over.
So they did a promo beforehand highlighting who Muertes is and what he's about. And apparently he was a child who survived an earthquake where 1,000 people died around him. I don't think they mentioned it in this one, but I do remember vaguely mentioning that's why he's Mil Muertes, because he survived an earthquake that killed 1,000 people.
Yeah, and that rock came from that rubble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then Katrina finds him as a man and puts him in the mask or whatever. But Vampiro does mention that the reason he's wearing those pants is because those pants are a throwback to the 60s era of Lucha Libre, which I thought was a cool little kind of note. Doesn't help his gimmick at all, but it's nice. I appreciate the history lesson. That takes us to click, 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 boom. Then we get Johnny Mundo. He's yelling at a bunch of Lucha Libre henchmen. And then he beats him up. And then he walks in and he's like, hey, Dario, I want the match with Big Rick. And then Dario's like, I don't want to give you Big Rick. And he's like, oh, wait, never mind. I'll give you Big Rick. And Johnny's like, thank you. And then Johnny leaves. And then Big Rick comes in and he's like, you got a match with Johnny. And here's some money. And Big Rick's like, yes, this storyline is going nowhere. And I'm like, yes, Big Rick, I agree.
He punked him out of so much money.
And all that money is just going to be wasted on Boone the Bounty Hunter. Yep. I remember. Do you remember? I remember. So that leads us into the main event. Is Pentagon... Oh, I'm sorry. We had a Prince Puma promo. We're skipping that. Hey, you want to hear Conan talk about a dude in a Jaguar mask they call Puma? I don't. Main event, Drago, Phoenix, Pentagon. The three kings of lucha masks for the modern era.
Agreed.
Granted, I think Drago is obviously an A+, and Phoenix is pretty good. Pentagon, in this case, has the worst, but that's because he's still Pentagon Jr., who is the third, I think, Pentagon in the lineage of that character. So when he eventually becomes Pentagon Dark, I think that's when he really owns his own uniqueness. But he still has that Pentagon outfit going. And I'm sure you've seen Octagon. Octagon is like a black suit ninja with like a red thing around his head and like some white and silver trim. That's Octagon. That's Pentagon's rival.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's well, that is interesting. But now I'm looking at Pentagon in this match. I'm like, he'd make a great adversary. Like if they could have taken him, this character, into like acting, he would have been like a great adversary in another Turtles movie, or like the villain in an actually good Double Dragon movie.
Ooh, but Marcus, they already made a Double Dragon movie, and it's hilarious. By the way, you've seen the cartoon, right?
Oh, it's the only true investment I have in the lore.
Fight the might of the dragon. Hear the roar of the dragon. You are Billy and Jimmy Lee.
You are Dragon Master now. Something. Never fight if you can avoid it. Demi and Billy Lee, you are Dragon Master now.
I think it was Remember the Code of the Dragon.
Yeah. Fight the
might of the dragon.
Love it.
Dude, they didn't even need to make cartoons in the 90s. Just give us the theme songs.
You ain't lying, man.
Chip and Dale. I don't remember a single fucking episode of Chip and Dale. I won't forget the goddamn theme song. This is Duckburg. Then I don't remember Tailspin. Woo!
No, that's DuckTales.
Oh, was it? Damn it. I don't remember Tailspin at all then.
Every day that I've been drinking
DuckTales. Woo!
The Darkwing Duck, the Gargoyles, even though that was an instrumental. Like, come on, man.
Darkwing Duck. Let's get dangerous. Darkwing Duck. Yeah, 90s had baller theme songs. Like, I still watch a cartoon here or there just if it's good. Like, I really dig Craig and the Creek. I don't know if you've seen that one.
No.
It's real cool. It's about three friends that hang out in the woods all day. And it's like their own little like ecosystem. Like there's like an economy. There's rules. Like when you like get too old, like you graduate. It's like, I never go out of my way to find it, but if it's on and I'm like waiting to start work or something, I'll watch it. It's because it's just like what I used to do. It's like it's adorable. I love it. Check it out. I think you'd thoroughly enjoy it. But this match was fine, and I think that's the most disappointing part about this match was we know that these guys do better work, but this is also like they're literally their first week on the job.
Yeah.
So like we have to remember that like the show and wrestlers are still kind of finding themselves in this environment. It was a fine main event. I wouldn't say it was anything worth going out of your way to find. But if you want to see Pentagon's debut in America, like in terms of like a national TV audience, considering what he would do in Impact and what he would do in AEW, it's cool for that reason alone. But it was clear that they're promoting Phoenix more than anyone else in this match, which is ironic because right now I would say of the three, Phoenix has the least charisma, even if he might be the best worker.
Yeah, and when you look at the overall narrative of the temple, and if you kind of set aside Puma and Muertes, like Phoenix became like the hero, and then Penta became like the ultimate villain.
Mm-hmm.
You know how I was positioned. Like I said, if you take aside Puma and Muertes, these two right here, and I think if you had to rank them, obviously we're going. Drago probably ended up third behind these guys because he never really reached to a point where it was like, oh, it's Drago's time. But he was always cool and had a lot of cool moments. And come on, man, he acted and portrayed himself as a real life dragon. So how can you
That
not?
tongue, man, that tongue,
Just sick.
in more than one way. I think Drago would end up winning a trios title, but
Yeah.
not for some time. So that brings us to the last segment of the show. Dario Cueto's like, they're all being mean to me. And then he shows up in a prison cell somewhere, and he's all like, hey, I'm not going to be intimidated by anyone, not even you. And I think that this is the unofficial debut of Matanza Cueto, a.k.a. Jeff Cobb. Now, I might be wrong about that, but I don't think I am. So.
No, because there's only one person he ever needed to keep locked up somewhere. So, yeah. And I think that was also his only real friend because everybody else was either asking him for something or making him give it to them.
Maybe it could have been Evilise. Speaking of people who need to be locked up. Ba-dunch. So overall thoughts on episode 3. Better, worse?
I liked it. I liked it better. We got more character stuff. Who can ever complain? I mean, the points for the episode instantly go up because we got more Katrina. You can see Morrison kick some Big Rick henchmen in the hallway. Like I said, they always thrived on those segmented fights backstage, if you will. So that stuff worked and stuff. And yeah, there was some more decent matches this week too. So and improve. It's getting better.
And you can now find Boone the Bounty Hunter in your local $1 Walmart bin. Don't be confused, though. It does say free for a reason. Because they couldn't give that movie away. Ba-dunch! All right. With that being said, we're done. Done for the night. Done with the stream. Done with the YouTube shows. RealNerdCorp.com. It says right there on the screen. RealNerdCorp.com. We are on Twitter at NERDCRP. We are on Instagram, I think, still. Marks can be found on Twitter at ParadoxKid, ParadoxKid.
No, that is me.
Yup. Then there's the True Printing show that he also does. It's probably better than this show because they don't have to deal with me. So, that's already a bonus. That's True Printing Show on Twitter, TruePennyShow. Check them out. They cover a nice eclectic international grouping of shows, so that's pretty cool. Yes, I've tuned in, Marcus. I don't hear myself getting promoted much. I'm just saying, work on that. Work me into every segment, goddammit. I'm not asking for much, just total domination of your life. Come on. I don't see that as a problem. You can also find us you can find me on Twitter at NERDCRP. Nope, that's all right. God damn it. You can find me on Twitter at ChadNerdCorp, ChadNerdCRP.com. There is no .com. What the fuck is wrong with me? ChadNerdCRP and on Instagram at ChadSpotahut. That's RealNerdCorp.com once again. We got a new article up talking about the rebooking of 2004 Great American Bash. It is okay. You can also find us on Twitter at NERDCRP. One last time for Mark Screen, I'm Chad Bertle. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us. I'm mushing my mouth. Don't know what I'm saying. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for giving us a chance. And as always, watch more wrestling. Marcus, now it's time to take us home.
Good night, me.